Morning, everybody. I want to talk today about the power of positivity and just how powerful our minds are in looking for positivity everywhere. I remember Tony Robbins saying that whatever we focus on, that's where energy flows. So where focus goes, energy flows. And energy, your thought, your ability to think, is the greatest form of energy in the universe. So think about that and let's apply it today. Look for positivity everywhere. Be relentless. Wherever you are, whatever you're experiencing, whoever you're with, look for the positive. It is not being blind to reality. It is taking your powerful mind and actually focusing on what's positive in this world, because there's so much that's positive. You do that, and that power of your positivity is endless, and it will affect endless others. So I challenge you now and forever to do it. Have a great day, everybody. Legs crossed, back straight, eyes closed. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Deep, long breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feel that power of you controlling your breathing. That power that's available to you all the time, wherever you are in life. That power to reconnect to your greatest gift right now. Your presence, your being. Your infinitely intelligent being. The same stuff we're all made of. And with that stuff that we're made of, we can control the most powerful supercomputer in the universe. Your mind. But only you can do it. Only you can control your own mind. So let's do that right now, and let's see the future. Today, our time together, let's see ourselves doing the best we can on every single exercise and stretch. For this is not only the gym that we have available to us right now, in this space wherever we are, but it is also the gym of life, where we grow our minds all the time. Good morning, determination. How is everyone doing today? Another great day, wherever we are. Today for myself, I'm indoors. Maybe you yourself are indoors as well too. Wherever you are, let's go. Let's make this the best gym period we've ever had. It may not be exactly where we want to be. We may not be in school or at work where we really want to be, but wherever we are right now, let's do this to the best of our ability. Here we go, determination, here we go. When I say go, we're going to start jogging on the spot for 1 minute. Ready, and go. And as always, we're thinking about our breathing, focused on our breathing. Feeling that power of us always being able to control our breath. Even when our heart starts beating faster, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through something stressful, something maybe we might be afraid of or we don't like, we get to control our breathing. The same way, we get to control our thoughts. And our thoughts affect our feelings. So if we can control our thoughts, we can control our feelings. Almost there, everyone. Almost there. Keep going. Keep going. Determination. Keep going. And stop. All right. You can walk on the spot, or you can walk side to side as you recover your breathing. Always feeling that power of you controlling your breathing. This is the best. What we have right now, wherever you are, you've got your mind and your body in the gym of life. And you get to be your best right now on whatever stretches, exercises we're about to do together. Here we go. Here we go. Determination. That's why I love gym. Gym is the best. Grow your mind in the gym of life. Here we go. Let's do 10 shoulder rolls forward. Ready, everyone? Here we go. The best 10 shoulder rolls forward ever. Still controlling our breathing. Shoulders all the way up and around as high as we can towards our ears. And backwards. Again, feel the power of you controlling your body right now. In these simple movements, simple motions, you get to control your body. The way you control your mind, same way. Alright, and let's do arm circles forward, everyone. Arm circles forward, 10 big ones forward. Feeling the joy of our arms moving through space. Alright, and backwards. Excellent. Alright, everyone, let's put our hands on our hips, bend the knees, and side stretch. There we go. 5 on each side. Alright, and let's twist our bodies. Here we go. Feet flat on the floor. 5 on each side. Really thinking about what we're doing. Really trying to feel every part of our body as it's moving in space. Alright, good. Okay, let's do 5 push-ups together. Here we go. 5 push-ups. Best 5 push-ups. Again, if you got to keep your knees on the ground, that's okay. Just do your best, always. And 5 sit-ups. Excellent. And standing up. 5 squats. Here we go. Body straight ahead, looking straight ahead. All the way down. All the way up. Alright. Let's do 3 lunges on each side. Here we go. Arms out. Still controlling our breathing. Alright, and let's do 10-second plank. Belly's knees off the ground. Again, feeling the joy of you pushing your body a little bit outside its comfort zone. Because you know that's where the growth is. Alright, everyone, and standing up. Reach for the ceiling on your toes. Or the sky if you're outdoors. Today I happen to be indoors. If you are outdoors, reach for that sky. If you're indoors, reaching for that ceiling. We may not touch it yet, or ever, but we're going to reach, we're going to strive, just like we do in life, no matter what. Okay, now reach for your toes. Again, it's okay if you don't touch your toes, but keep your knees straight. Reaching for your toes. feeling the pull in the back of your leg. Not the pain, just a little bit of a pull. All right, come on up and let's balance. Grab one leg, find that balance, bend the other knee. Well done, everyone. Keep going. Keep thinking about what you're doing right now. And switch. Again, feel the pull on the front of the thigh. Bend the other leg. Find that balance. If you lose it, just try to work hard to get it back and then hold it there. Excellent. All right, now let's hug our knee. Here we go, all the way up. And try to steady that other foot on the ground. Bend the knee if you have to, and pull all the way up. Hold it for 10. Always working hard to find that balance. Where we balance our thoughts, our mind, balance our bodies, wherever we are in space. All right, and switch. Just always think of safety too. Make sure you have enough space, clearance around you, in case you do lose your balance. Hold it there. Well done. Okay, good.
Messi, plenty of room. Oh, it's magnificent.
And there, the shot by Messi into the corner. Outside of the boot, caressed in for Messi. Drags it around.
In the early 1970s, Sylvester Stallone was a broke, struggling actor with a baby on the way. He was so desperate for cash that he sold his beloved bull mastiff Butkus for about $40 because he couldn't afford dog food. It was the lowest point of his life. With nothing left to lose, Stallone locked himself in a tiny apartment and feverishly wrote a movie script about an underdog boxer named Rocky. Studios offered to buy the script, but refused to cast Stallone in the lead. He refused to sell unless he could star as Rocky. Many thought he was crazy for turning down money when he was nearly homeless. Eventually, one small studio agreed to let him play the lead. Rocky, in 1976, became a Hollywood triumph, winning Oscars and launching Stallone's career. With his first paycheck, Stallone tracked down the man who bought Butkus and paid $15,000 to buy his dog back. Butkus even got a role in the Rocky film. It ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Sylvester Stallone. Believe in yourself and never abandon those who helped you along the way up. If you've been here before, drop a hashtag believe in the comments below so I can feature you here in a future video. And if you're new, welcome to Believe Nation, the only channel that helps you believe in yourself daily, one video at a time. Believe. Lesson number 1, believe in yourself. Stallone's story shows the power of believing in yourself and your dream. Even when everyone doubted him, he never lost faith. In fact, at one point, he had only about $100 left in his bank account and a baby on the way. Yet he turned down a $360,000 offer for his Rocky script because the buyers wouldn't let him star in it. Think about that. He was down to his last few dollars, but he refused to sell his story if it meant giving up his dream role. That kind of self-belief is rare and powerful, and it paid off. The film that no one wanted him to star in ended up winning 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. If Stallone had given in or doubted himself, Rocky might never have happened. So the lesson here is believe in your own vision when no one else does. Bet on yourself, because if you don't, who will? Lesson number 2, work hard and sacrifice for your dream. Big dreams require big hard work and sacrifice. Stallone didn't get lucky. He worked tirelessly for his success. He locked himself away and poured his soul into writing the Rocky script, famously writing 90 pages in just 3 days. He was living in a tiny apartment, practically broke and hungry. He even had to part with his beloved dog just to survive. He and his wife were willing to live with nothing if that's what it took. Stallone even said he'd rather bury his script in the backyard than sell it, and his wife agreed. They'd live in a trailer in a swamp if needed. That's how committed he was. Most people aren't willing to give up their comfort, but Stallone's sacrifice shows that you have to be fully committed to your dream. Whether it's long hours, late nights, or giving up something you love for a while, success comes at a price. When you're chasing a goal, be prepared to work harder than everyone else and make tough choices. It will be difficult, but that dedication can set you apart from everyone else. Also, if you want to take real action after this video, I made a free worksheet just for you. It covers the top lessons from today, gives you space to write your biggest takeaways, and helps you build a simple action plan. It's 100% free. Just click the link in the description below to go grab it. I'll see you there. Lesson number 3. Keep moving forward. Stallone's journey is a lesson in perseverance. He faced rejection and hardship over and over again. Many studios told him no. People thought he was crazy. He was so broke he could barely afford food. Life hit him with everything it had. But like Rocky Balboa in the film, Stallone knew something important. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up. He kept knocking on doors until one finally opened. He didn't let the early rejection stop him. Instead, each no just made him more determined. Stallone kept moving forward no matter what. This is the idea behind Rocky's famous quote, "It ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." He lived that message for real. The truth is, you will face hits in life. Failures, losses, people doubting you. But if you keep pushing ahead after every setback, you haven't truly lost. Stallone went from sleeping in a tiny apartment to walking on stage at the Oscars, all because he never gave up. So when life knocks you down, remember, dust yourself up. Keep moving forward towards your goal. Lesson number 4, stay loyal and grateful. Through it all, Stallone never forgot those who helped him or were loyal to him. When he finally found success, he didn't abandon the friends or even the pets who stood by him in the hard times. The moment he got paid, his first mission was to buy back Butkus, the dog who had been his companion during his hardest years, and Stallone actually pleaded with the dog's new owner to get him back. He said Butkus had suffered along with me for 2 years and belonged in the movie. He paid a huge sum to reunite with his old friend. He later said Butkus was worth every penny. Butkus got to appear in Rocky and share in Stallone's triumph. This shows Stallone's loyalty and gratitude. He didn't view success as a solo journey. He remembered those who were there when he had nothing. In our own lives, it's important to do the same. No one achieves success completely alone. There are always supporters, mentors, friends, or family who've helped along the way. When you reach your goals, thank the people, and yes, even the pets who supported you. Stay humble and loyal to those who believed in you before the world did. Sylvester Stallone's story proves that an underdog can win through belief, hard work, perseverance, and gratitude. His life teaches us to believe in ourselves, work hard for our dreams, never give up no matter how hard life hits us, and stay grateful to those who help us. You may not be writing a Hollywood script, but you are writing your own life story. So keep pushing forward with your dream, even when it's tough. And one day, you could be the one celebrating a hard-earned victory. And congratulations, you're one video closer to who you're meant to be. Believe. What would you do if you were homeless at 12, scrubbing toilets at 15, and rejected by everyone? Jim Carrey lived it, but he never stopped believing. Jim grew up in Canada in a hard-working family, but when his dad lost his job, everything fell apart. They lost their home and were forced to live in a van. At 15, Jim dropped out of school to help. He worked as a janitor, scrubbing toilets, mopping floors, anything to keep his family afloat. But while he was cleaning, he was dreaming. He knew he was meant for comedy. He practiced jokes in the mirror, did impressions, and finally got on stage. But his first stand-up gig, a disaster. No one laughed. He bombed. Hollywood rejected him. They said he was too weird, too over the top, too much. But Jim refused to quit. He kept grinding, kept pushing, and finally got his break on In Living Color. Then came Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and overnight he became the biggest comedy star in the world. And here's the craziest part. Before making it, Jim wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered and dated it 1995. In 1995, he got paid exactly $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. Jim Carrey was homeless, broke, and laughed off stage, but he never stopped believing. So what about you? Early life, laughter, and struggle. Jim Carrey was born in 1962 in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada, into a humble, hardworking family. Even as a child, Jim loved making people laugh. At age 8, he would practice making funny faces in the mirror, and by 10, he was so confident in his impersonations that he mailed a letter to Carol Burnett, hoping to be on her comedy show. Comedy was his passion from the start, but Jim's childhood wasn't all smiles and jokes. His family hit serious hardships in his early teens. When Jim was around 12 to 14 years old, his father, Percy, lost his job as an accountant. The sudden blow plunged the family into financial crisis. They even became homeless for a while, living out of a Volkswagen van because they couldn't afford a home. The van was so cramped that Jim and his brother had to sleep in a tent outside. To keep the family afloat, everyone had to pitch in. Jim took on a job as a janitor alongside his dad, cleaning floors and toilets at a factory after school. By the time he was 15, money was so tight that Jim quit school to work full-time and help his family make ends meet. He later said that if show business hadn't worked out, he might have ended up working at a steel mill in Ontario. That's how limited his options seemed back then. It was a tough, uncertain life for a teenager, mopping floors by night and dreaming of comedy stardom by day. Despite the overwhelming challenges, Jim never let go of his love for comedy. In whatever free time he could scrape together, he honed his act. He would stand in front of a mirror practicing goofy expressions and voice impressions, determined to turn his natural silliness into a ticket out of his hardship. His father, despite his own struggles, believed in Jim's talent and did what he could to support his son's dream. Percy Carey would even drive Jim to downtown Toronto to perform at comedy clubs, giving his son a shot on stage when Jim was just a teenager. The family situation was pretty dire, but those small moments on stage provided a spark of hope for young Jim. He knew making people laugh was what he was meant to do. All he needed was a chance and the courage to keep trying even when things went wrong. Chasing the comedy dream. Jim Carrey's first attempt at stand-up comedy didn't exactly go as planned. In 1977, 15-year-old Jim got up on stage at a Toronto comedy club for the very first time and bombed spectacularly. He had crafted an act full of standard celebrity impressions, the kind he had practiced at home, but the edgy club audience wasn't impressed. His debut was met with silence and awkward coughs rather than laughter. The experience devastated him. My impersonations bombed, which gave me doubts about this career path, Jim later recalled. For a moment, the teen who had so boldly dreamed of comedy stardom was shaken to his core. Was he really cut out for this? And for a while after the first show, Jim stepped back to regroup. He focused on polishing his material and waited for his family's situation to improve a bit. Eventually, things stabilized. His father found a modest job and the Careys moved out of the van and into a house. With a roof over their head again, Jim was able to return to the stage. In 1979, at age 17, he mounted a comeback in the Toronto comedy scene. This time, he had a sharper act and a fearless attitude, and it paid off. He started to get some laughs, and soon Jim booked his first paid gig, a 20-minute spot at a local club for a small $20 fee. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Audiences were beginning to see the spark in the tall, rubber-faced kid from Ontario. Jim's confidence grew with each performance, and so did his reputation. By the early 1980s, he was becoming a well-known young comic in Canada, earning opening slots from more established comedians. One of those established stars took notice in a big way. Legendary comic Rodney Dangerfield saw Jim's act and was impressed by the lanky youngster's manic energy and impressions. In 1981, Dangerfield invited Jim Carrey to tour with him as an opening act. Imagine being 19 years old and hitting the road with one of the most famous comedians in the country. It was an incredible opportunity. Jim eagerly joined the tour, gaining exposure to American audiences for the first time. With Dangerfield's boost, he even got a foot in the door in Hollywood. He moved to Los Angeles in 1983 to try to break into the US show business. However, Hollywood wasn't ready to roll out the red carpet just yet. Jim faced rejection after rejection in those early LA years. He auditioned for NBC's Saturday Night Live, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and was turned down each time. One of those failed auditions was particularly bitter. Jim never even got to perform for Saturday Night Live's producer Lorne Michaels because some staff writers decided in advance that Michaels wouldn't like Carrey's wild style. He landed a starring role in a low-budget comedy film called Once Bitten in 1985 and a short-lived NBC sitcom The Duck Factory in 1984. But true breakout success still eluded him. Casting agents and executives didn't know what to make of Jim Carrey. Some thought his rubber-faced, over-the-top slapstick was just too weird for movies or TV. At times, Jim must have felt like he was too much for Hollywood to handle. The big opportunities that he dreamed of were just out of reach, and the string of rejections could have easily broken his spirit. Yet through all of these setbacks, Jim refused to quit. He kept grinding, kept pushing his act, and kept showing up at comedy clubs night after night to refine his skills. He was a fixture at LA's Comedy Store and the improv circuit, determined to make his mark. Each no he heard only gave him more incentive to try harder. In his mind, he hadn't come this far, from cleaning factories in Ontario to almost getting on national TV, just to give up. Jim believed it was only a matter of time before his big break would come. And he was right. In the late 1980s, his persistence finally paid off in a big way, opening the door to the opportunity that would change his life. Breakthrough on In Living Color. Jim Carrey's first major breakthrough arrived on a TV sketch comedy series, but not the one he originally envisioned. Instead of Saturday Night Live, it was Fox's In Living Color that would catapult Jim to fame. In 1990, Carrey was cast as a regular on this edgy sketch show created by Keenan Ivory Wayans. He was the lone white comedian in a predominantly black cast, and his fearless, zany characters fit right into the show's bold style. Week after week, audiences laughed at Jim's scene-stealing sketches, like the accident-prone Fire Marshal Bill with his twisted rubbery face, or the outrageously feminine bodybuilder Vera de Milo. Finally, after years of struggling, Jim Carrey had found the platform that let his oddball talent shine. He spent 5 seasons on In Living Color from 1990 to 1994, becoming one of the show's breakout stars. Hollywood, it turned out, was ready for Jim Carrey after all. They just needed to see him in the right setting. Thanks to In Living Color, Carrey's name was starting to get noticed, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. In 1994, Jim leapt from TV fame to global superstardom in the blink of an eye. It all happened in one unbelievable year. In early 1994, he headlined a quirky detective comedy called Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. The film was low budget and the studio didn't have high expectations, but Jim's hilarious performance as the wacky pet detective caught lightning in a bottle. Ace Ventura became a surprise hit, and Jim's catchphrases, "already then," were suddenly everywhere. But he was just getting started. That summer, Jim co-starred in The Mask, a comic book fantasy where his character transforms into a manic, green-faced trickster. It was another box office smash, cementing Carrey's reputation for unmatched cartoonish energy. Then, as if two hit movies weren't enough, December 1994 saw the release of Dumb and Dumber, a buddy comedy pairing Carrey with Jeff Daniels. The film was yet another blockbuster, and Jim's portrayal of the sweet but dim-witted Lloyd Christmas had audiences laughing worldwide. 3 major movies in 1 year, each a box office success, turned Jim Carrey into the biggest comedy star on the planet. Virtually overnight, he went from a guy who couldn't get on Saturday Night Live to becoming a household name. Hollywood's attitude.
Good morning, everybody. Today, Jack Ma ends off his top 10 rules for success with us, and his last one is one that stands out for me. It's have passion. This is one that is the activating force in anything great that people have ever done, that you can ever do. You have to have passion. It has to be so in you that you love it, that you breathe it, that you think it. Think about your loved ones. Think about the people you love most in this world. Think about something you've ever loved most in this world. It could be something like, I don't know, playing a video game or anything. Something that has such a powerful force. If you can have that passion and apply it to something that is worthwhile in serving others, there is no limit to what you can do. My passion is spreading as much positivity in this world. Where I stand, where I am, with the help of everybody. So I use Jack Ma's thoughts. I hope you do, for now and forever. Have a great day, everybody. And let's sit down, everybody. And reaching for our toes. Straight knees again. Reaching is what matters. If you don't get to your toes, that's okay as long as you're reaching. Feeling the pull on the back of your legs. Not the pain, just a little bit of a pull. Okay, V shape with your legs. Now reach for the floor as far away from your body as you can. Hold it there for 10 seconds. Okay, now reach for one side and hold it there again. Always thinking about the moment, thinking about what we're doing right now. experiencing the joy of being able to reach for something to help our bodies get better. And switch to the other side. See, you can do this almost anytime, any place. You can work on your mind and your body wherever you go in life, in everything you do, not just in exercise and stretches. All right, here we go. And let's do feet together. Gently push your knees down with your elbows and hold it there for 10 seconds. If you feel your breathing going on autopilot or becoming automatic again, take control of it. Deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. One leg forward, one leg back. Keep the knee on the ground. Go as far back as you can. Hold it there. 10 seconds. And switch to the other side. Knee on the ground. Go as far back as you can. Always remembering that you are the boss of your mind, and your mind is the boss of your body. That makes you the big boss. You get to control yourself. You get to use your determination no matter what. All right. And let's roll onto our bellies and push the floor. Looking up at the ceiling. Cobra stretch. Here we go. Hold it for 10 seconds. Feeling that nice stretch in our lower back, neck, back of our arms. All right, and legs crossed, back straight, eyes closed. Taking deep, long breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now, activating that third eye, that mind's eye that we all have. We can't see it, but we know it's there. So use your mind's eye right now to see yourself doing the best you can today when that music goes on whatever 2 exercises, stretches you've chosen to do. For me, today I'm going to be holding the push-up position for one song, the first song, and then I'm going to be holding the squat position for the second song, as long as I can. And if I happen to let go or not be able to hold it, I'm going to continue on until that song's over. What about you? You can put on your own 2 songs today, and you can do your own exercises. But think about which exercises you're going to do right now, safely within the space you have. You can do what I'm doing. You can listen to what I'm listening to, or you can choose your own. But whatever you do, determine right now, see in your mind what you will do when that music goes on. All right, determination, here I go, holding the push-up position, and let's go, whatever you're doing, whatever you've decided, let's see it, let's see your best, here we go together, let's go, determination, let's go. Looking forward to being better than we were last time, a little bit more than last time. See if I can hold it for the whole song, let's see. Wasn't able to do it last time we did this together. Or the last time I did it on my own, but I'm going to work at it right now. Because I love the process of trying to get better at something. Whether it's building strength in my body, building strength in my mind, working on creating nothing but positive images, thoughts, visions in my mind, working on being the best human being I can be. What about you? What is it for you? Whatever it is, just enjoy the process of learning, growing together, whatever we're doing. And sometimes we're going to feel that discomfort, but Right now, I can already feel my muscles already uncomfortable. But then I can feel my determination saying, I get to determine whether I'm going to stop or keep going, no matter what. You too, let's go, determination, let's go. Alright. Didn't get through the whole song, but I'm going to get right back at it again. Song's not over, we gotta keep going. There we go, shaking it up. Not being mad that we didn't get to where we want to be yet, but feeling happy that we get to go at it again. Here we go. Always thinking about our breathing. Always thinking about finishing strong, no matter what. Always going right to the end, finishing what we set out to do, no matter what. Alright. Got more in me, I know I got a little bit more. We gotta keep going. You too, whatever you're doing, keep going. Determination, keep going. Let's go. It's not over yet. The song's still playing. Focus on that breathing. Good air in. Bad air out. Here we go. Another round. I love it. I love the process of building our true great self through exercising our bodies and our minds together. Oh, that's the next song. All right. Time.
Hacia el arco.
De emparejarse hacia abajo.
Arranca De Paul, encara De Paul, la tira hacia adelante para el Papu Gómez, quiere pegarle, el Papu tocó para Messi, tira el gol, Messi. ¡Gol! Qué bien, la cambió de pie a pie Julián Álvarez, viene para Molina, viene el centro, busca para Messi, golazo.
Towards Jim Carrey flipped almost comically. The same too over-the-top comedian they had been hesitant to cast was now their most bankable funny man. In fact, after Ace Ventura and The Mask raked in cash, studios were desperate to secure Carrey's talents. In 1995, he negotiated a then unprecedented deal. Jim Carrey became the first comic actor to ever earn a $20 million salary for a single film with the dark comedy The Cable Guy. He had ascended to the very top of Hollywood's A-list in record time. But amongst all this whirlwind of success, something truly magical, almost unbelievable, was happening in Jim's life, something he had dreamed about years before. It's a story so crazy you'd think it was a Hollywood script, and it involved a simple piece of paper Jim kept in his wallet. The $10 million check, dreams into reality. One of the most legendary stories about Jim Carrey is a testament to the power of visualization and self-belief. Back in the 1980s, when Jim was still a struggling unknown in Los Angeles, he did something audacious. He wrote himself a check for $10 million. In 1985, a broken, hopeful Jim Carrey made out a personal check payable to himself for acting services rendered, post-dated exactly 10 years into the future. The memo line simply read, "For acting, payment for work he vowed to someday accomplish." He tucked that check in his wallet and carried it with him everywhere. At the time, $10 million might as well have been $1 billion to Jim. He was barely scraping by. But that check was his symbolic promise to himself that one day, somehow, he would be worth that much as an actor. It was a bold act of faith. Now, for years, the check just stayed in Jim's wallet, growing tattered as the date drew nearer. And then, incredibly, reality caught up with Jim's imagination. Just before Thanksgiving 1995, exactly as Jim had envisioned, he got news of a career-making payday. He learned that he was going to earn $10 million for starring in Dumb and Dumber. The dream written on that check had come true almost to the letter. Jim had gone from sleeping in a tent and scrubbing toilets to pulling down 8-figure paychecks doing what he loved. It was a stunning example of what unwavering belief and determination can achieve. Almost like the universe decided to wink at him and say, "You believed, and you did it." Jim never forgot the significance of that moment, especially the role his family played in his journey. When his father, Percy, passed away in 1994, Jim placed the now weathered $10 million check in his father's casket. It was a way of honoring the man who had always believed in him and shared his dream. "I put that check in the casket with my father because it was our dream together," Jim said. The story of the $10 million check has since become a Hollywood legend. It's a powerful reminder to dream big and believe in yourself even when circumstances look impossible. Jim Carrey's life is proof that sometimes the wildest dreams really do come true. Beyond laughter, reinvention, and reflection. By the late 1990s, Jim Carrey was at the absolute peak of comedic fame, but he wasn't content to stay in one box. He had conquered comedy. Now he wanted to prove he could truly act. So Jim took a sharp turn and started pursuing more serious dramatic roles. And once again, he found success against the odds. In 1998, he stunned critics and audiences with The Truman Show, playing a sincere insurance salesman who discovers his entire life is a scripted TV show. Carrey's performance was heartfelt and restrained, and it earned him a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor. The very next year, he transformed himself to play Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon in 1999, another role that earned him critical acclaim and a Golden Globe. Suddenly, Jim Carrey wasn't just a goofy comedian, he was a respected actor capable of depth and nuance. He continued to mix it up in the 2000s, starring in films ranging from broad comedies from Bruce Almighty, Yes Man, to artful dramas like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in 2004, for which he received BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations. Time and again, Jim showed that he could defy expectations, reinventing himself and silencing the naysayers who once doubted his range. Yet, even as his career soared, Jim faced personal trials behind the scenes. The early fame came at a cost to his personal life. He went through 2 short-lived marriages in the 1990s and a series of very high-profile relationships that didn't work out. More profoundly, Jim battled periods of intense depression for many years. He's spoken openly about the fact that making millions of people laugh couldn't shield him from struggles with mental health and identity. After his explosive rise up, Jim had to grapple with the question, who am I, really, when I'm not Jim Carrey, the comedy star? In a candid moment, he admitted that Jim Carrey had become a character he was playing, a persona he felt people expected, which left him feeling empty. The realization pushed him to seek a deeper sense of self beyond the spotlight. Tragedy also struck Jim's life in a deeply personal way. His mother, who had been ill, passed away in 1991, just as Jim's career was taking off, and his father, his biggest supporter, died in 1994, right before Dumb and Dumber made Jim a $10 million man. Losing both parents so early was a heavy blow for Jim. In the years that followed, he also endured a very public tragedy when a former girlfriend died by suicide in 2015, leading to painful controversy and lawsuits, which were eventually dismissed. Through these hardships, Carrey gradually turned to spirituality and art as a way to heal and find meaning. He developed a passion for painting and sculpting and spending long hours in his art studio creating vivid, expressive works that surprised those who knew only his on-screen persona. In interviews and appearances, Jim's public demeanor began to change as well. He often spoke about deeper philosophical concepts, the illusion of fame, and the importance of the present moment. Some people found his behavior strange, but Jim explained that he was simply no longer interested in playing the Hollywood game or being who others expected him to be. After decades in the limelight, he sought authenticity and inner peace above all. In fact, one of Jim Carrey's most powerful public messages came during a 2014 commencement speech he gave to graduating students. He told a story about his father's influence that summed up everything he had learned from his own journey. Jim's father had played it safe. He'd abandoned his dream of becoming a comedian and took a steady job as an accountant to support the family. But that safe path ended abruptly when Percy was let go from his job, leading to the hardships that the Carreys endured afterwards. From this, Jim learned a lesson he never forgot, as he told the students, I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which is that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you do want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. In other words, life has no guarantees. So it's better to risk failure at something that truly matters to you. Hearing those words, it's easy to see how Jim's own life exemplifies that philosophy. He risked everything to chase his comedic dream. And though the road was rough, in the end, he achieved more than he ever imagined. Legacy of an unstoppable believer. Jim Carrey's journey from a homeless teen to Hollywood megastar is more than just a rags to riches tale. It shows resilience and authenticity and the power of belief. At every low point in his life, from living in a tent to bombing on stage, Jim found a way to keep his dream alive. He had an almost stubborn faith in his own destiny, scribbling down his wild ambitions on paper like that $10 million check and carrying them close to his heart. When others told him he was too strange, too over the top, or just too much, he didn't tone himself down to fit in. He turned himself up, refining his craft until the world caught up with his vision. And once the world did catch up, Jim still wasn't afraid to change and grow beyond the box he put himself in. He's given us countless laughs with his elastic face and physical comedy, but he's also moved us with performances of real emotional depth. Through successes and failures, he remained at his core that determined kid who just knew he was meant to make people laugh. Today, Jim Carrey has stepped back from making movies at the breakneck pace of his 1990s heyday. After decades of entertaining us, he's hinted at the possible retirement from acting and has become selective about new roles. He focuses much of his time on painting and writing and speaking about the insights he's gained in life. But his impact on pop culture and comedy is already immortal. A whole generation grew up idolizing his characters, from Ace Ventura's talking butt jokes to the mass wild dance numbers. And many of today's comedians cite Jim as a major inspiration. His commitment to his characters and his improvisational genius redefined big screen comedy in the 1990s. And beyond the laughs, Jim Carrey, the man, has inspired millions with his personal story of perseverance. So, what can we take away from Jim Carrey's incredible journey? First, never underestimate the power of belief and hard work. Jim literally envisioned his success years before it happened, but he didn't stop at wishful thinking. He put in the work day after day, whether anyone was watching or not. Second, embrace what makes you unique, the very traits that people mocked or rejected in Jim. His wild energy, his expressive style became the foundation of his superstar success. He stayed true to himself and it paid off. And finally, remember that fame and fortune aren't the ultimate keys to happiness. Jim's later years taught him, and by extension teach all of us, that personal fulfillment comes from being true to yourself and doing what you love, not from chasing others' approval. As he wisely said, you can fail at doing what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on what brings you joy. Jim Carrey was once a 12-year-old living in a van, a 15-year-old janitor scrubbing toilets, and a young comic who heard more no's than yeses. But he never stopped believing in his dream. Instead of giving up, he used every setback to push harder. That belief carried him through the darkest times and ultimately into the brightest spotlight. If Jim's story tells us anything, it's that no dream is too big, not when you're willing to work for it and believe in it with all your heart. So ask yourself, what dreams do you have, and are you willing to take a chance on them? Jim Carrey did, and he not only changed his own life, he brought laughter and inspiration to the whole world. And that might be the greatest success of all. So whatever your passion is, keep going and keep believing. Jim Carrey's incredible journey is living proof that sometimes life can go beyond your wildest dreams. After all, as Jim would say with that famous grin, alrighty then, go make it happen. Walt Disney was fired for lacking creativity, lost his first company to bankruptcy, and got rejected 300 times trying to fund Disneyland. But he refused to quit. At 22, Walt worked as a newspaper artist, dreaming of bigger things. But his editor fired him, saying he wasn't creative enough. Determined to prove himself, he started Laugh-O-Gram Studios, his first animation company. He hired a team, made cartoons, and poured everything into it. But bad business deals left him broke, in debt, and sleeping in his office floor. The company went bankrupt. With just $40 in his pocket, Walt moved to Hollywood. There he created Mickey Mouse, but every studio told him it would fail. Then he pitched an even crazier idea, Disneyland. He went to 300 banks for funding. They all said no. But Walt never stopped believing. He finally secured funding, built Disneyland, and turned Disney into a multi-billion-dollar empire with movies, theme parks, and a legacy that still inspires the world today. Walt Disney was fired, broke, and rejected, but he kept going. If 300 rejections didn't stop him, what's stopping you? Early struggles in Kansas City. Disney's story begins far from the glamour of Hollywood. Born in 1901 in Chicago and raised in Missouri, young Walt had a tough childhood. His father, Elias Disney, was a strict and sometimes abusive man who struggled to make ends meet. Walt found escape in drawing cartoons, nurturing a vivid imagination despite the hardship at home. By his late teens, Walt was determined to turn his love of art into a career, a decision that would soon test his resolve. At only 18 years old, Walt took a job as an artist at the Kansas City Star newspaper. He dreamed of making it big as a cartoonist. However, that dream hit a wall when his editor fired him for not being creative enough. Imagine being told you lack imagination, the very talent you believe in. This harsh dismissal could have crushed Walt's spirit, but instead it motivated him to prove his former boss wrong. Determined to succeed on his own terms, Walt teamed up with his older brother Roy in 1920 to launch Laugh-O-Gram Studios, a small animation company in Kansas City. Walt poured his heart, soul, and savings into creating animated short films and advertisements. For a time, it seemed like his creative vision might pay off, but running a business at 21 years old was difficult. Bad deals and financial mismanagement caught up with him. Within just a couple years, Laugh-O-Gram went bankrupt, leaving Walt with nothing. He was penniless, in debt, and even had to sleep in his office before the company finally folded, a humbling failure for the young entrepreneur. Rather than give up, though, Walt saw this failure as a lesson. In 1923, with only $40 to his name, he packed a small suitcase, jumped on a train, and headed for Hollywood. It was a bold move born out of desperation and hope. Walt originally went to Los Angeles thinking he might become an actor. That was another dream that didn't pan out. But in California, he noticed a new opportunity. There were no animation studios in Hollywood at the time. Sensing his moment, Walt convinced Roy to join him on the West Coast to start fresh. Together, the brothers set up a tiny cartoon studio in a borrowed garage. Walt was effectively starting over from scratch, armed with nothing but his creativity, determination, and the lessons learned from his Kansas City failures. From Oswald to Mickey, creating an icon. In California, Walt Disney finally tasted success, then almost lost it all again. By 1927, his fledgling studio landed a deal to produce a cartoon character named Oswald the Lucky Rabbit for a New York distributor. To Walt's delight, Oswald became a hit, drawing nationwide audiences and giving Walt his first major success in animation. For a moment, it looked like Walt's bad luck had finally turned around. However, another crushing setback was on the horizon. In 1928, when Walt traveled to New York to negotiate a better contract, he was blindsided. He discovered that his distributor not only took the rights to Oswald, but had even poached Walt's team of animators out from under him. Overnight, Walt lost his most popular character and most of his staff. It was a devastating betrayal. Many people would have become bitter or given up right there, but Walt refused to quit. Instead of fighting over Oswald or falling into despair, he chose to walk away and start over yet again. A pattern that would define his career. On the long train ride back to California, Walt's resilience kicked in. He began sketching a new cartoon character, a cheerful mouse inspired in part by a pet mouse he had back in Kansas City. Walt originally named him Mortimer, but his wife Lillian thought Mickey sounded better. Thus, Mickey Mouse was born on that train in 1928. Back in Los Angeles, Walt and his small team, including legendary animator Ub Iwerks,
Morning, guys. Again, I'm going to borrow from Les Brown. As you can see, he's got an amazing sense of humor as I'm drawing a lot of my material to remind us to laugh our way to infinite mind wealth. Les Brown, thank you so much. Here's another example. He was talking about money at one point, and we often we don't even realize it, but we self-sabotage ourselves and with the idea that money is the root of all evil, when in fact it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Well, he was giving an example where he was talking in a speech, and he said something about how most people believe that rich people or people with a lot of money can't be happy. And then he says the example, well, he goes, I'd rather find out for myself. I'd rather become rich and find out for myself if I can be happy. So he puts a positive, laughing spin on it. And I thought, yeah, we got to look at ourselves that way when it comes to money. So yeah, we'd rather find out for ourselves. Let's get rich and find out if we can be happy. Have a great day, everybody.
Time for some squats, holding the squat position. What about you? What are you going to do next? determination. Here we go. Ready? Alright. If you're doing what I'm doing, just try to keep your feet flat on the floor, looking straight ahead, going as far down as you can, your bottom towards the ground, and holding it there. As long as you can, until that music's done. Because our music, you know the truth, our music's never done. Our energy, our determination is built to last, to get through anything. Let's go, determination, let's go. If you're sweating, that's good. Feel your body releasing some of that fluid, some of that old fluid, and water. Make sure you drink lots of water when we're done. Make sure you always fill your body with good food. All right.
Se la lleva Messi, está habilitado, sí. Messi para el cuarto, Messi enganchó. ¡Qué golazo! ¡Qué pena! Le queda la pelota a Dybala. Ahora a ver, allí va Messi. ¡Ah! Está iluminado. Está tocado, es el mejor.
Deflection helped it through to Messi. He goes around the keeper.
All forward, setting Messi.
Worked tirelessly to bring Mickey to life. Mickey's first two cartoons had trouble finding distributors, but Walt struck on a groundbreaking idea. Make an animated cartoon with synchronized sound. The result was Steamboat Willie. Mickey's debut was sound in late 1928, and it became an overnight sensation. Yet even Mickey Mouse Road to Fame faced doubt and rejection. Walt struggled to find financiers and distributors willing to back his talking cartoon idea. In fact, bankers rejected the concept of Mickey Mouse over 300 times before one said yes. It's almost unbelievable. Walt pitched his cartoon hundreds of times to skeptical investors who told him a talking mouse would never ever work. Finally, one distributor took a chance, and Mickey Mouse quickly skyrocketed in popularity, proving all the naysayers wrong. By the early 1930s, Mickey had made Walt Disney a rising star in Hollywood. At just 27 years old, Walt had gone from bankrupt artist to the proud owner of a successful cartoon studio on the strength of a little mouse with big round ears. However, success brought its own stresses. Walt was a relentless worker, constantly pushing for better animation quality and new ideas. He poured all the Mickey profits into expanding his studio and creating new cartoons. Before long, Walt became overworked and deeply in debt again as he developed more ambitious projects. The pressure caught up to him in the early 1930s. Walt's top animator and close friend, Up Iwerk, the one who helped design Mickey, was lured away by another company. Facing that loss and exhaustion from nonstop work, Walt suffered a nervous breakdown. His doctors advised him to take a break, so Walt and his wife took a much-needed vacation. For the first time in years, he stepped back from work to recuperate and reflect on what to do next. Little did he know his biggest breakthrough was on the horizon. Rested and recharged, Walt came home with an audacious new dream, one that many would call crazy. Disney Folly, Snow White, and the First Golden Age. By the mid-1930s, Walt Disney had a successful studio thanks to Mickey Mouse and a series of cartoon shorts. But he wasn't content to just make short, funny cartoons. Walt had a grand vision. He wanted to create the world's first full-length animated feature film. This idea became Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. When Walt announced he was going to spend an unheard of sum, over $1 million in the 1930s, to make a feature-length cartoon, Hollywood insiders mocked the project as Disney's folly, believing no audience would sit through an 80-minute cartoon. Even Walt's wife Lillian and brother Roy were worried this gamble would ruin the company. But Walt's belief in the project was unshakable. Walt spent 3 years, from 1934 to 1937, and practically every dollar the studio had on Snow White's production. He even had to mortgage his house to finance the film toward the end. He invested heavily in improving animation, developing new techniques like the multi-plane camera for depth, and training his artists in lifelike human animation, all to make make Snow White a quality cinematic experience. The pressure was immense. Partway through production, Walt actually ran out of money. Facing bankruptcy yet again, he showed an early cut of Snow White to bankers to convince them to loan him more funds. He was all in on this dream. When Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered in December 1937, the response proved Walt right and the skeptics very wrong. The film received a standing ovation at its Hollywood premiere. Critics and audiences were astonished by the emotional depth and artistry of the movie. Famed director Sergei Einstein called it the greatest film ever made. Snow White became a global smash hit and the highest grossing film of all time up to that point before Gone with the Wind came out. The movie earned millions, about $66 million in that era, roughly $1.3 billion today, and adjusted for inflation, and gave the Disney studio a huge financial windfall. Walt had silenced his doubters. His so-called folly had revolutionized animation and made history. With the success of Snow White, Walt Disney entered a golden age of creativity. He immediately started production on more animated features. Pinocchio 1940, Fantasia 1940, Dumbo 1941, and Bambi 1942. But new challenges arose. The high cost of these films, combined with World War II cutting off international markets, meant that several of Disney's follow-up films struggled financially. Pinocchio and Fantasia, though now considered classics, failed to turn a profit by their initial release. By 1944, just a few years after the triumph of Snow White, the Disney studio was again in serious financial trouble, even nearing bankruptcy. Then in 1941, during the production of Dumbo, Walt faced a very personal setback. His animators went on strike. Feeling underpaid and seeking to unionize, many of Walt's employees walked off the job. The strike deeply upset Walt. It was a blow to his family-like vision of the studio, and it halted production for weeks. The distribution, along with the wartime economy, caused the company's debt to soar to $4 million by the mid-1940s. Walt Disney, the man who had created Mickey and wowed the world with Snow White, was once again on the brink of ruin. Yet, true to form, Walt looked for a creative solution. During the war and its aftermath, he shifted focus to new avenues. Disney produced training and propaganda films for the U.S. government to stay afloat. After the war, Walt embraced the emerging medium of television, something other Hollywood studios avoided. In 1950, Disney launched a TV special, and soon after, the immensely popular Mickey Mouse Club television show. These ventures not only generated revenue, they also kept Disney's characters in the public eye and endeared new generations of kids to the Disney brand. Walt's willingness to innovate and diversify during hard times paid off. By the early 1950s, the Disney studio had regained its financial footing, and Walt was ready to pursue his next most ambitious dream of all. Disneyland, 300 rejections and one big dream. By the 1950s, Walt Disney had conquered cartoons and feature films, but he was dreaming even bigger. He envisioned a theme park like no other, a place where children and adults could experience magic firsthand, stepping into the world of his films. This dream would become Disneyland. But at the time, the idea sounded outrageous. An amusement park without the dirt and seedy reputation, one that was immaculately clean and immersive, bankers and investors were extremely skeptical. Building Disneyland would cost tens of millions of dollars, and no one had ever seen a park quite like what Walt imagined. When he pitched the concept to financiers, over 300 banks and investors said no, refusing to fund what they saw as a risky fantasy. Even Walt's own board of directors at Walt Disney Productions weren't fully on board initially. They thought the project could bankrupt the company. But Walt's passion for Disneyland was unshakable. He later said, "I could never convince the financiers that Disneyland was feasible because dreams offer too little collateral." In other words, the bankers couldn't see the vision, but Walt could. Determined to bring his dream to life no matter what, Walt decided to finance the park in unconventional ways. He partnered with the ABC television network. In exchange for investment money to build the park, Walt agreed to produce a weekly TV show, Walt Disney's Disneyland, which also cleverly promoted the future park. He also quite literally bet on himself. He borrowed $50,000 against his own life insurance policy and even sold his vacation home to raise funds. These moves, combined with securing a few loans from more open-minded banks and investors, gave Walt just enough capital to start construction on Disneyland in Anaheim, California. After years of planning and a hectic one-year construction schedule, Disneyland opened on July 17, 1955. The opening day, however, was anything but the fairy tale Walt had imagined. In fact, it was so disastrous that the press dubbed it Black Sunday. Huge crowds showed up with counterfeit tickets overwhelming the park. On that hot 100-degree day, the freshly paved asphalt on Main Street melted the high heels off women's shoes. Rides broke down. Water fountains weren't working. A plumber's strike meant Walt had to choose between fixing toilets or fountains. He chose toilets, leaving some drinking fountains dry. Nearly everything that could go wrong did go wrong that day. Walt was embarrassed and deflated as critics savaged the chaotic opening. But if there's one thing we've learned from Walt's story, it's that setbacks never stopped him for long. Walt immediately addressed Disneyland's opening problems. Within weeks, the kinks were ironed out and the public's curiosity turned into genuine excitement. Families flocked to the park in droves. Disneyland became a colossal success, drawing over 1 million visitors in its first 2 months and turning Walt's multi-million-dollar gamble into a thriving enterprise. The profits from Disneyland even cleared the remaining debts from his film studio's difficult 1940s period. In the end, Walt's crazy dream wasn't so crazy after all. He had created the happiest place on earth. Standing on Main Street, USA, with smiling crowds around him, Walt Disney had proven once again that perseverance and imagination could overcome any obstacle. The man who had once been told he lacked creativity was now literally building worlds sprung from his imagination. And he wasn't done yet. Even as Disneyland succeeded, Walt was already dreaming up new ideas, from plans for Disney World and Epcot in Florida to exploring educational TV programming. He kept pushing boundaries until his final days. Walt Disney passed away in 1966, but by then his legacy was secure. He had changed entertainment forever. Walt Disney's legacy of perseverance. Walt Disney's life reads like a Hollywood script, full of dramatic twists. Fired from his job, bankrupt by his early 20s, laughed at by critics, betrayed by partners, and rejected over and over. Yet ultimately victorious. His story is a testament to the power of resilience and vision. As Walt himself once said, "All the adversity I've had in my life, all the troubles and obstacles have strengthened me. You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you." Every failure taught him something and fueled his next attempt. So let's recap some of the astonishing setbacks Walt Disney overcame on his road to success. Fired for lack of creativity. Walt's newspaper boss in Kansas City fired him, claiming Walt wasn't imaginative enough. It turns out the young artist just needed a different canvas for his creativity. First company went bankrupt. Walt's Laugh-O-Gram studio collapsed within a couple years, leaving him broke at the age of 21. This failure forced him to leave home and start anew in Hollywood, a gamble that eventually paid off. Lost his early creation. After finally achieving success with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Walt had the character and his staff snatched away due to a contract loophole. Rather than fight a losing battle, he let go and conjured up Mickey Mouse, an even bigger star. Hundreds of rejections. Disney struggled to find support for his ideas. His concept for Mickey Mouse with sound was rejected by more than 300 bankers and distributors before someone agreed to help. Years later, over 300 banks rejected his plans for Disneyland as well. Walt simply kept pitching his vision until he found believers. Disney's folly. Nearly everyone thought Snow White would fail and bankrupt the studio. Even Walt's wife thought he was overreaching. But Walt persisted, and Snow White's success proved it was a genius move, silencing the haters and earning him an Oscar. Actually, one normal Oscar plus 7 miniature ones for his achievement. Financial turmoil and strikes. Walt saw his studio go deeply into debt in the 1940s and endured a painful strike by his employees. He navigated through by reinventing his business into television and other projects rather than giving up. Disneyland's rough start. The chaotic opening day of Disneyland could have spelled disaster. Critics were ready to write it off as a giant mistake, but Walt's tenacity turned it around, and within a short time, Disneyland became a resounding success. Each of these hurdles might have stopped a lesser person. So what was Walt Disney's secret? In part, it was his unwavering optimism and imagination. He truly believed in his dreams, even when nobody else did. But he also matched that dreamer's vision with hard work, adaptability, and grit. He was willing to risk failure again and again, learning and innovating each time until he achieved his goal. Walt famously said, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." For him, impossible was just a challenge waiting to be conquered. Today, the Walt Disney Company is a multi-billion-dollar empire spanning movies, merchandise, resorts, and theme parks around the world. It's easy to see the shiny surface of success and forget its rough beginnings. But Walt's story shows that every great success story may have chapters of failure. Disney's legacy isn't just Mickey Mouse or Disneyland. It's the reminder that perseverance can transform your setbacks into stepping stones for success. Walt Disney was fired, broke, and repeatedly told no, but he kept moving forward. He turned each setback into an opportunity to start something new. Because he didn't quit, the world has been enriched with his beloved films, characters, and places that have inspired joy in millions of people. So, the next time you find yourself facing rejection or failure, think of Walt Disney. Remember that even the man who created Mickey Mouse had doors slammed in his face hundreds of times. What kept him going was belief. Belief in his ideas and in himself. If 300 rejections couldn't stop Walt Disney, what's stopping you? In Walt's own words, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Believe and keep pursuing your dreams with that same persistence and creativity that Walt showed. And who knows? You might just create some magic of your own. To learn the incredible story of Tony Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Imagine growing up never knowing if there'd be food on the table. That was Tony Robbins' reality. He was born in 1960 and raised in a chaotic and abusive household. Tony was the oldest of three, often acting as a protector for his younger siblings. In the
And here we are again. Back to where it all begins. Where it all begins and never ends. That source, that oneness, that consciousness, that awareness. That we know is in all of us. That power to determine, to control our minds. You see, nobody else, nothing else in this universe can do what you do every day. In the gym of life. Only you, human being, only you, infinitely intelligent being, can do the ultimate. Only you can control your mind, your thoughts, and therefore your feelings. But it takes a lot of hard work. It takes, first of all, believing that you can do it. If you don't believe in yourself, your mind health, your chance at mind wealth is not possible. But that's not the way it was meant to be. You were born to win. Control over your mind, your thoughts. To have and be all you were meant to be. And that means believing 100% in who you really are. And that is the key to your mind health and your mind wealth, your happiness, your freedom, your success, your infinite peace and love towards everything and anything. It's possible. It's all because of you, your determination, united with all of our determination, creates that oneness, that consciousness. Determined nation.